मेरे मौला अल्लाह, मेरे मौला अल्लाह।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون صدق الله العظيم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من نرب ومن نجم. Alhamdulillah. It is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's immense and infinite grace and fadl and His merciful nature and His kindness towards His creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the facility to attend the gathering of Naseeha and Dhikr. And many of you will ask, what is this facility? And it is very simple. The facility we all have in common, and it is our body. Our body we use in very similar ways. Almost all of us have very similar nature and a very similar level of needs. For example, a person will eat to satisfy the hunger of the stomach. A person will drink to quench the thirst, to as though hydrate the body. A person will use the bathroom or the washroom or use the toilet in order to relieve the pain in his stomach or to relieve the natural body needs. And that is the facility, is that all of us have been placed within these boundaries. And this is one of the questions, is that people who tend to say, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. The biggest question is to that person is, okay, if you can do whatever you want, remove the need of hunger. It's not possible. You can kill hunger, you can kill the feeling of hunger, but you cannot kill hunger itself. Okay, you say you can do whatever you want. Why are you ill? Why are you ill? How come you have cancer? How come you have flu? How come you have a cough or a sore throat or any of these things? Okay, now even do this. Stop your sleep. You can't even do that. You can't even do that. We're confined by that. Okay, I'll ask you another one. Why are we not wealthy? Why is our bank accounts not 7-digit? You know, some people work day and night and they don't even have a penny to their name. They're just paying bill upon bill upon bill. Again, another confinement, another boundary that Allah has placed to give you a lesson. And what is this lesson? That you are not all powerful. You are not all powerful. You can only have a power which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to you. Like to come to the gathering is one of your powers that you have. A power of walking, of driving, using your legs, using the facility we have in order to quench the thirst of the spirit. The spirit is as though empty. It is cold. Because throughout our week, throughout our month, throughout our days, how many of you can say that we have truly devoted and devout and become devout in our ibadah, in our worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now, as last time I covered the portion of the inner and outer self, this part is a little bit more lengthier. It is from the teachings of Imam al-Haddad al-Alawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, from Libya. Their teachings on assistance, how the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of these gatherings is that we talk from the teachings of the saints. Now, we shouldn't, when I mention the name of, for example, Sayyidina Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, rahmatullahi alayhi, or when I mention the name of Imam Abu Hanifa, rahmatullahi alayhi, or when we speak of the name of famous awliya, pious and righteous companions such as Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, or even the master of all of them, Sayyidina Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and say with conviction. When you hear the name of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even say it. You don't have to say it so loud, but just say it as though even just you need to hear it yourself, because you're not trying to prove to your people on left and right. So when you hear the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you say sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is a durood in itself. So when we talk of these personalities, we shouldn't take this matter very lightly. We shouldn't take it lightly. One of the etiquettes is that when you hear the verse of the Quran, it should be like Allah is talking to you. Allah is talking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa azza wa jal is talking to me and you, not to anybody else. And this is one of the reasons why we have a hardened heart. Because when we hear the Quran or when we hear the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we do not apply it to ourselves. We say, it is for him, it is for her, and we use it as tools of attack, when really that is Naseeha to me and you. And not to mention is that another etiquette and a spiritual etiquette is that you should be as though at the qadamain of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at their feet. That is what the Sahaba would do. They would spend hours and days and nights just to wait from the Prophet, just to wait for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to return from a dawah, or as they would call it them times, on the caravan. When they would return to Medina or return to Makkah, the Sahaba would wait just to sit in their presence once again. And now, yes, we are not sitting in the presence, physical presence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some maybe are, but the most common people, they are not sitting in the presence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rather they are just sitting to take something away. Now, inshallah, I will mention this just so it is relevant, because we're talking about devotion. Devotion, we got to understand this word, its description. Now, a person who is devout, I'll tell you a story of Layla Majnoon. Who's heard of Layla Majnoon? Who's heard of them? There's like some parts are factual, some parts are fictional, some parts are non-fictional, some parts are true. Now, I'll tell you one thing is that the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they had one of qualities of Majnoon. He saw, one time, this person, Layla, she was having like a meet and greet. You know how you have celebrities now, you have a meet and greet, come, I'll sign your book, I'll give you signature. So what everyone were doing, they were taking plates of food. So one person would go, he'd give a plate of food, Layla would say, thank you very much, place it on the side. Eventually, the queue went on, Majnoon came. And what she did was, she got his plate, threw it into the desert. And he went majzoob. He went crazy. He said, oh, alhamdulillah. Oh, yeah, alhamdulillah, look what she's done. Like, she's thrown it in disgrace, like, this is horrible food, throw it in the desert. Some person went up to him, oh, Majnoon, like, she's thrown your plate into the desert. He said, no, that's not it. He goes, everyone she treated the same except me. Everyone she treated the same except me. I was treated special. And this is our mentality. It should be, is that sometimes what we deem that is not really beneficial to us, it is actually the most beneficial thing. It's the most beneficial thing. It's because our attitude towards it is not right. And again, with our worship, many of us say, we're in the masjid, we come to Jamaat every day, 5 times a day. We are in the masjid Fajr to Isha. Some people from Fajr to Isha, and some people in the night doing Dhikr. And these are really the devout people, by the way. But if you ask someone and they say, oh, why do you not come to the masjid? Say, oh, I don't enjoy it. I'm not enjoying the Dhikr. I'm not, like these brothers go through effort to actually make the Dhikr sound more appealing, the video more appealing, the picture more appealing, the speaker tries to make it more appealing. And then what happens is that we say, it's not really, we've lost the feeling. And one thing Haji Sahab mentions every week is that you should be here for Allah's pleasure, not the pleasure of this nafs inside, not the pleasure of the nafs inside. Because when this is stopped being pleased, this is a sign you're actually getting more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When this is getting pleased, because the nafs by default is inclined towards evil. It's inclined towards evil. It's not inclined towards masjid and goodness and things. It's inclined towards the thing which is easy. For example, we said, you know what, our tea, we like tea with 3 sugars. Someone gives us 1 sugar, nafs starts going psycho. Oh wow, what's going on here? Or he's not said hello to me today. Oh, what's going on here? He's not sent me a message today. What's going on? It really is that we shouldn't be so worked up. And alhamdulillah, is that if we look into, so I'm going to mention 3 aspects today, inshallah. In the future, I will try to cover the remainder. One of the teachings of Imam al-Haddad, rahimahullah ta'ala, is that he says, you must fill up your time with acts of worship so that no period of time elapses. So that in a 24-hour time scale, if you were to write it down, 24 hours, there should be no portion of wastage. And let me tell you how you can do that. Some people might ask, but only salah is only 5 times a day. It may consist of 1 hour. Or if I'm fasting, yes, it may be 17 hours, but then you've got a few hours of spare. So, for example, the sleep. The sleep, I'll give you one example of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. What did he say? And he said, someone found out, one of the other Sahabi, and they mentioned that, Sayyidina Ali, Ya Ali, we heard that you pray or you're in worship all night, in the hazuri of Allah all night. And said to the nearest meaning, Sayyidina Ali mentioned that that is correct. And the Sahaba were like, oh, how is this possible? He must have immense levels of piety, which they did, without a doubt. But obviously in that time, the mindset was different. Like, they wanted to learn, they wanted to be receptive. How can I pick up this attribute? How can I pick up the sifat of Sayyidina Ali, radiallahu anhu? Now what happened was is that he said, when I sleep, I make intention that I'm sleeping to please Allah. And when I wake up, I make intention that throughout my day, I'm pleasing Allah. That throughout every of my actions, I will be pleasing Allah. That made his sleep ibadah. That made his sleep ibadah. So now, where you have a 24-hour time, for example, you're in sleep for 7 hours, 6 to 8 hours, in the middle, 7 hours, and then you might be eating for 45 minutes to half an hour to 45 minutes. What would you do with your eating? Let me just, does anyone want to give an answer about the eating? What do you think the intention should be for the eating? Does anyone want to have a guess? It's very easy, similar to the sleeping one. Ji, uncle. Ji, mashallah. Ji. That's the exact one. That is the exact one. I'll repeat it for the sisters in the back. Is that what uncle said was, our honorable uncle mentioned that to eat with the intention of with strength to pray. Strength to pray. This is one of the sunnahs. This is why I'm pretty sure uncle doesn't have difficulty. We should actually all be looking up to him, not me. Is that, alhamdulillah, they are old age. And look, is that they see is that they are still making the intention, and they are probably more stronger than all of us. Physically too. Physically as well. I can say this. When you shake their hand, they are firm. They've still got strength. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah inside this. And what it mentions here, Imam al-Haddad, is that Imam al-Haddad, rahmatullahi alayhi, whether by night or day, without being used in some act of goodness, this is how the barakah within time is made to manifest. So the blessing within time is made to manifest with the right intentions. And your purpose of life is fulfilled. What is our purpose of life? This is a good one because all the time you get different answers. But I won't go around. I'll give you the answer, inshallah. Your purpose of your life is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To please Allah. If your day has consisted of disobedience and disloyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, know that that day is a wasted day. Every breath of that day, I will ask you again and go back to the original, one of the beginning sentences, is that you claim you can do anything and you have power. Get that breath back. Bring that breath. One more time, bring it back. Bring that breath back. Your lungs will never see that gasp of air again. That air has gone. That moment has gone. That second has passed. Can never return. No matter how much you beg and plead, no one will ever return. The thing is that we become delusional. Is that we forget. We watch this movie, Back to the Future, etc., all these silly films where they have time travel and whatnot. Is that it's not going to happen in real life. This is what you call fiction. It's like a children's book. It's like, the giraffe jumped over a tree or something like this. It doesn't make sense. I remember one time I was in year 6 at the time, and one of my teachers said to me, give all the class. When originally Google was like quite new at the time, people just started using it. And one of the teachers said, search for tree octopus. Search for tree octopus. And the school, everyone going one by one, tree octopus, look at mashallah, look at tree octopus. And then she goes, who believed it? I still remember to this day, 29 out of a class of 30, 29 people raised their hands, that's real. And only one person, he kept his hand down, and she goes, he's right. It's fake. It doesn't exist. We become delusional. I think we actually think we are tree octopuses as well. We think that we are something that we're not. We start to become and believe in our own mind that we are some supernatural human being with power. But really only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows this power upon people. And the approach to God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is made constant. So it's something that is regularity is placed inside your worship. Regularity. Something that is missing from our lives. I can tell you now is that if you were to analyze 2 days of your life, they would be very different. They would be different because there is no schedule. There's no timetable. And we all fall trapped to this. And we forget that we are supposed to be timetabling our daily actions. For example, when you know that I have to pray at this time, so you then make a schedule and a timing that now this is my allocated time to pray. Or, for example, this is my time I'm going to eat, and this is my time I'm going to sleep. Hey, Abdul Qadir, mashallah. Yeah, so as you can see, he's coming with a smile, alhamdulillah. He's already bringing in the light, alhamdulillah. So as you can see, is that what we're talking about now is a person who should actually have a schedule. So the first aspect is transforming normal daily activities into ibadah. And the second one is putting everything into a timetable, into practicality, scheduling it, rather than it just being like wayward, freestyle. So the second aspect is to have a timetable. And the third one is the last one we're going to cover today, inshallah, is complacency, impatience, and boredom. These three things is that what happens is we become complacent. We lose the zeal. We lose the want. We lose the ability. Because one thing is in our power to do something. And one is that it's in our power and we don't do it. It's called, in another word, they call it procrastination. Procrastination, when you have the ability to do something, but you still refrain from it. You still refrain from it. For example, now you know I have to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hukam is that you have to pray 5 times a day. There's no excuse to this. Now, this is one of the best examples to give it because there's no excuses. For example, you can make excuses for other things. Yes, there are valid Shari legal rulings where a person can miss Jamaat, but to miss the prayer, it's a no-go. It's a no-go zone. So, what we look at is that a person becomes bored, complacent, and impatient. Because when they see that when I first began praying, the zeal, the want, the love, the passion was all there. But after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line, it says all gone. I'm all empty. Tanks on low. And alhamdulillah, I wasn't going to quote this, but inshallah, one of our mashayikh, Ibn Ta'ala Shazali, mentioned is that because only the real people know the presence of boredom within a person. Only the mashayikh and awliya Allah know when boredom and complacency is entering into the heart of a person. And that is why when one of the reasons why a person eradicates something is to remove this. And here one of the sheikhs of Sheikh Imam al-Haddad is that he mentioned is that Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Saqaf rahmatullah alayhi mentioned that whoever has no wird is a kird. I don't think none of you know what kird means. Kird means monkey. If without a wird, without stability, one of wird means is that your amal. I'll put it for the people on tariq is that it means your amals. Without this, without stabilization within this, the mashayikh are saying you are though similar to a monkey. Like you jump from tree to tree. That's it. You don't have no stability in your life. You cannot do very simple things. And another pious person said that the arrival of blessings depend on your awrad and your awrad. Your awrad and your wird. It depends very much on these. Therefore, the man who outwardly has no wird has no inner aspect of any consequence. So he, as though, just like this freestyle person, and bearing in mind, I'll just touch upon it one last time, is that these are not my words. These are not. I didn't write this. If you want to see, is that this was written. This is like a portrait, but this was written by Imam al-Haddad. By one of his students actually wrote this, called the Book of Assistance. It's not my words. And people would flock to sit at the feet of these pious and righteous men of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Gnostic, saintly people who understood the value of ibadah, value of all of these things. So one thing that we should understand and realize is that for us to value these words, we are only benefiting ourselves. And when we think that it doesn't benefit us, we are the first people who are subsequent to the harm, not the benefit. And similarly, when you cause harm to somebody else, you're the first person who is harmed. And when you benefit somebody else, you're the first person who benefits. Jazakumullah khair, ahsana jazaa. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa atubu ilayk, astaghfirullah.